internationally known. When I be on the mic, I'm internationally known, yo. I'm internationally known. When I be on the mic, so all hail the honorable. I'm internationally known. When I be on the mic.
Ladies and gents, welcome to the Being Neo podcast, episode 3. All right, it sounds a little less corny, but I'm still just like, it's crazy. Some of you may be thinking to yourself, when are we going to see Neo on here having a conversation with a guest? That is a very good question. It's a very, very good question. And first, I just want to remind you that I am a Gemini. So technically, every time I record a podcast, even if it is just myself, I'm coming with my twin. And so these conversations are at the very least between my twin and I. But, I thought about that. I have some guests scheduled, and I thought about, bringing the guest conversation on now. But the reality is that I feel like this is kind of dating. We're kind of dating each other right now. We're getting to know each other. I'm sharing a little bit of myself and kind of the flow and how I am with things and sharing, we just had Meet the Host. And I really, really want my upcoming guests to be able to digest a little bit of who I am before coming on, because not each of my guests will be friends or people that I know. There are a lot actually that I have queued up, scheduled, ready, and anxious to speak to that I've never spoken to before. And then we'll also have some just straight crazy, hey, I just met you. You want to do a podcast kind of conversations. But that said, I want to, I don't want this to be a one night stand. Like we could do that, but I mean, that's short lived. And if we're going to get some of the people that I have mentioned on this podcast and some of the people that I really want to bring on this podcast, we're going to have to date a while. I'm going to have to get to know you. You're going to have to get to know me. We're going to have to take this slow, give you some time to read the room or the podcast. And so bear with me as I go through these conversations, unpacking the things that are in my mind. We are going to have an intense and super, super fruitful conversation. And when I say fruitful, I'm going to plant some seeds today as we have our conversation that I feel will pay out dividends in benefiting you, the listener, the viewer, in a multitude of areas in your life, in every area of your life. But first, we're going to have facts, because I don't want to share some of the subjective things in my mind before I give you some factual, objective information. So let's see. And today is going to be a little bit different because I don't have one fact. I have several. And I mean, listen, I don't have to hide this from you guys. If you read the title of the podcast episode, we're talking about fear today. So this is the reason why I'm telling you. I'm going to plant some seeds to free you from fear and allow you to find the courage that you've been looking for, or at least these are my hopes and desires, that I inspire you to find the hope and courage you've been looking for to break free from the thing that you haven't been doing because you're scared of it. But before we get into that, 5 things you never knew about fear. I felt like that was completely appropriate for today's topic. So, this was published in 2020. It was published in October 2020. How apropos is that? Right smack dab in the middle of the pandemic. Or, yeah, I think that's funny. Okay, so, understanding the science of fear. I'm not going to read all of it because this is not what this is. So 1, fear is physical. Fear is experienced in your mind, but it triggers a strong physical reaction in your body. As soon as you recognize fear, your amygdala, small organ in the middle of your brain, goes to work. It alerts your nervous system, which sets your body's fear response into motion. Stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline are then released. Your blood pressure and heart rate also increase. You start breathing faster. Even your blood flow changes. Blood actually flows away from your heart and into your limbs, making it easier for you to start throwing punches or run for your life. Your body is preparing for fight or flight. All right, so 2, fear can make you foggy. As some parts of your brains are revving up, others are shutting down. When the amygdala senses fear, the cerebral cortex, the area of the brain that harnesses reasoning and judgment, becomes impaired. So now it's difficult to make good decisions or think clearly. As a result, you might scream and throw your hands up when approached by an actor in a haunted house, unable to rationalize that the threat is not real. Okay. 3. Fear can become pleasure. But why do people who love roller coasters, haunted houses, and horror movies enjoy getting caught up in all those fearful, stressful moments? Because the thrill doesn't necessarily end when the ride or movie ends. Through the excitation transfer process. Yeah, wow, I like that word. So before I continue, I used to have to learn a series of words and the meaning of those words and how to use them in various forms every week. It was something my mom required of us. I now have an extensive vocabulary, which I love, but excitation is just it's a great word. In either case, I digress. Your body and brain remain aroused even after your scary experience is over. So during a staged fear experience, your brain will produce more of a chemical called dopamine, which elicits pleasure. Okay, and now fear is not phobia. So we're going to go into the differences of that. So if you're slightly uneasy about swimming in the ocean after watching, say, the movie Jaws, the movie did what it set out to do. But if you find yourself terrorized, traumatized, and unable to function at the mere thought of basking on the beach, you might be experiencing more than just fear. The difference between fear and phobia is simple. Fears are common reactions to events or objects, but a fear becomes a phobia when it interferes with your ability to function and maintain a consistent quality of life. If you start taking extreme measures to avoid water, spiders, or people, you may have a phobia. Okay. And then last but not least, number 5. And I'm sorry, for those of you that are watching the video aspect of this podcast, I apologize when I'm looking down at my phone. Part of me is still very much in my podcast mindset, in which case the audio has to be clear, but you're not really looking at me. But the reality is you are looking at me because this is being recorded. All right, all of that said, the last one, fear keeps you safe. Fear is a natural and biological condition that we all experience. It's important that we experience fear because it keeps us safe. Fear is a complex human emotion that can be positive and healthy, but it can also be negative. It can also have, negative consequences. If a fear or phobia affects your life in a negative and inconvenient way, speak to your primary care provider who can help determine the kind of treatment you might need. Or don't do that because that sounds absolutely stupid. I mean, you can talk to your primary care health, but like, what are they going to do? Write you a script for Paxil? Um, this is a great time to say I'm in therapy, and I think that you should be in therapy too. I think we all should be in therapy. But those things that we just talked about, and the reason why we're talking about fear today is because, as I have tried to express, and I hope I continue to make this point as important to me as it truly is, I'm sharing with you guys my life. I mean that. Like, this is me sharing my life with you. So, if you do not follow my social media, I know it comes up on the screen for those of you watching the video, but follow me, follow my social media. I feel like, again, as I said, I don't want this to be a one night stand. We're dating. This is going to be a very long courtship. So get to know me in all aspects of me. I share different things on social media than just here, obviously, on the podcast. And so if you find me even remotely crazy, follow me. It's Being Neo, Being period Neo, pretty much on every platform. The only difference is going to be whether or not it has a period in between the two words or not, with the exception of Twitter, that's different. But look, link, guys, click the link. Click the link in the bio, the descriptions, and all the places. Um, and thank you, I appreciate it. So that said, if you were on my Instagram stories today, I shared a picture of the caption was lunch with friends, and I had a plate with chicken wings and corn, and the other plate had just chicken wings. It wasn't a plate; it was a pan for a toaster oven that had wings on it, and it was on top of Logan's crate because me and my friend were in my very tiny apartment talking about life. She is undoubtedly one of my best friends here. She's one of my best friends in life, and I feel absolutely fortunate and lucky to have her as a friend. She'll know who this is, obviously. When I'm she told me, she's like, "Oh, you gave me a spoiler," because I told her, I was like, "Listen, I knew I was recording a podcast today. I knew episode 3 was coming out, but I wasn't really sure what I wanted to talk about." and then we had lunch. So here we are. Okay, so this particular friend, we've had these conversations throughout last year and this year, and she wants to start a business and leave her job. She has a great job. She's successful. Um, she does very well for herself, but she's not at peace. She hates it. Now, she's not the person I was dating. This she is just my friend. Um, but she, unlike the friend that inspired the whole fear over everything, is scared, like terrified. And she has two options right now. She wants to start a business, but she's not sure if she should start the business or buy a pre-existing business. We lost the light, people. Sorry about that. Yeah, you can still see me. I feel like the visuals are still good. All right, podcasting. So I'm like, okay. And we've been talking about this for a few weeks, and kind of I've been helping her think through, the business aspect of what decision makes most sense, and all of those things. Now, for me, it's different. I help my clients on a regular basis start businesses, adjust businesses, prepare their business to be sold, and make sure that it looks and evaluates properly for the people that want to buy it. Because just because you want to sell your business, most people don't actually have businesses. Most people still trade their time for money and are employees to a company that they own, but they're really not businesses. Most people are not learning and not understanding how to exponentially create and earn revenue. It's a whole nother topic for another podcast, but I will get some guests on. We will talk about it. It is something I'm strongly passionate about. And so, when she initially spoke to me about this is probably a year ago. She's like, I want you to show me how to make money. Like, teach me what you teach your clients. And I'm like, okay. And we've had this conversation over a year, and I have not taught her anything, honestly, until recently. And it's recently because she was ready. Like, I don't want to waste my time, and I don't want to waste your time. So, like, for instance, if you were to get on my calendar right now, you click the link in the bio, you schedule time on my calendar, you realize you have to pay for the time because you have a business and you want to start a business or whatever. And I get on the phone with you and I talk to you, and I'm going to ask you a few questions. When I ask you those few questions, your answers don't line up with what's necessary to start a business, and you're not willing to change those things, that'll be the end of the phone call, because I don't want to waste my time and I don't want to waste your time. I really love doing it. I love helping people start a business, change a business, grow a business, adjust a business, find more profitability in a business. Um, Man, it's something that excites me. So, my friend is here, and I'm asking her the questions. I'm asking her the questions I've been asking her for weeks. For weeks. Why do you want to buy this business? It's so expensive. What are you actually getting in buying this business? Yes, they're telling you this is the purchase price of the business, but what are you actually getting? I need to know real valuation and then the perceived valuation they're trying to sell you on, because there's a difference. And depending on what that discrepancy is, that's the truth. All right. So we've had that conversation, I don't know, a million times. Not a million. I'm exaggerating, obviously, maybe half a dozen times. And today I'm asking some more probing questions. And you know, I am I love to teach. I love to teach because whenever you're teaching someone something or helping someone go through something, as a teacher, for me personally, it allows me to look at things from other perspectives always. And in the whole being new and having a new perspective and a new outlook from one moment to the next, I love the opportunity to teach because it allows me to evolve my thinking and approach in viewing and perceiving life in general, but all of the little details that comprise life as well. And so, when I ask questions, I always ask questions. I ask a ton of questions because I can't help provide clarity until I understand what's foggy and unclear. So she's my friend. And I mean, I love this woman. She is amazing. She is one of my best friends. And I'm looking at her answering my questions, and the first thing I'm getting is deflections. Like I'm asking a direct question and she's thinking about and responding with an answer that has nothing to do with the question I just asked. And this has happened a few times. And so I stopped and I was like, listen, the only reason that you're looking to take this direction of buying said business, oh, we lost another light, people. This is why you've got to charge your equipment. Technical difficulties are real. So I say this to her and I'm like, the reality is you're scared because the only reason you're thinking about buying this pre-existing business is because it makes you feel more comfortable in something that's very scary. Right? Yes or no? Like, I mean, I don't want to sit here and sound like a fortune teller, but like, yes or no? And she was like, yeah. She's like, that's true. I am. Like, and I want this to work and I want it to be successful and I want all these things. And I'm like, I know, I get that. But you're scared. And the reason that you're not evaluating the other option, which is you start your own business fresh, is because you're scared to do that. So, all right. So let's we're gonna go down the rabbit hole of business for a minute, and then we're gonna switch gears and then just relate this fear aspect of how we conduct our lives and how it relates to peace. Because I keep talking about peace on every episode, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. Guest, no guest. It's this thing that for me is my new North Star in directing every decision I make. I mean, every decision, whether or not I click snooze in the morning, whether or not I walk to the gym, walk in the gym, and then turn around and say, you know what? I've only gotten a combined 6.5 hours the last 2 days. Though I want to put this physical stress on my body, I need to rest and walk out of the gym and go home. Which, by the way, this is another plug. Follow my social media. That happened yesterday. And just for the time checks, right now it's 11:17 p.m. So it's an early recording of this podcast. So fear, the comforting and security of doing the other thing. And then the other thing, the other aspect was time. Well, I feel like this is going to be faster. And so before I went into why I didn't agree with those things, the first thing I said was, listen, you should never make a decision about anything with fear factoring in as weight. You can't do it. You cannot do it. All right. It's crazy to me how certain things segue. When I said I was going to come on here and share my vulnerabilities and my insecurities, um, I mean that. But I also mean when I tell you I don't have a direction for these podcasts when I hit record, I mean that too. And so I had not even thought about this, and it just hit me like a ton of bricks. And so I'm going to share with you the evolution of my life and where and how I am where I am, how I'm even having this conversation about fear. Oh man, you guys like this? We vibing? We cool? I mean, like, I love this stuff, man. I love sharing these things with you guys. I have a friend of mine. This is from North Carolina. He was at my wedding. My, I don't want to say the last wedding I'll ever have because I've also realized here recently and lately that I've never experienced a true, pure, innocent love with anyone that I've ever been married or in a relationship with. And I'm starting to learn that just now in the evolution of my friendships. And it's amazing. It's amazing. That's a whole nother podcast. It's a whole nother episode, guys. Okay, so fear. My actions and responses to fear in life in general. Okay, so I have mentioned in briefly, canine training and Logan, my dog, and you guys see him with me, and um, I cannot tell you how many raising working puppies I have ruined during me learning canine training. So many. But and let's do some definitions because I feel like context is important. So when I say canine training, I guess I could edit and throw up. I'm not going to do that, people. I want to make this easy. I'm sitting here like, I could throw up some of my canine training. This is what, if you want to see me train canines, you want to see some of my clips, go on my Instagram account and scroll all the way to the bottom of the reels. Just all the way to the bottom. Um, and I mean all the way to the bottom because when IGTV was IGTV, I was doing a seminar and I had posted some videos of some of the like live scenarios, and they're on there as reels now. But and I'll share some things too. Eventually, I'll put some clips up. I have some things. I'm sitting here thinking about my schedule and things tomorrow, and I don't want to promise you guys that I'm gonna edit and upload some of my clips of me training canines right now to this video feed. So we're gonna move on without that. But I am the guy. I can't even say I'm the guy. I train canines comprehensively. And when I say comprehensively, it means in the aspects of what's necessary for work, for police work. I mean military work too, but the aspects of detection, obedience, and apprehension. Now, detection can be in two forms, like detecting things that you're looking for and say like a room, a space, a luggage, whatever, detecting those things. And then you also have tracking, which would be picking up a scent on something and then looking for that through items, through air, through ground, tracking said scent. Those are two different forms of detection. They work differently, but you'll never hear me say I'm an expert in any of these things, but I'm pretty good. Um, I'm pretty good in duplicating the response that I'd like to elicit for said things. So for finding something and or tracking something. Um, but there's always room to learn. And so you'll never hear me say I'm an expert in those things, no matter how long I've been doing them, because there's always an opportunity to learn, to do it differently, do it better, do it more efficiently, do it differently based on the dog and the dog's response and how the dog is responding to said stimulus, said corrections, said desired results, et cetera, et cetera. There's a million and one factors, right? So when people are like they're master dog trainers, I just kind of laugh because I can't even tell you how many dogs I've trained to certification, and I'll never say I'm a master dog trainer. So there's that. But I digress. We're going to talk more specifically about the apprehension part because that's the part I love the most. And so apprehension is bite work, like where dogs take their teeth and bite you, like literally bite you. I don't know how else to say that. They bite you. Um and the job of the decoy is not to just get bit. Like you wouldn't need a person for that. You could just set up a dummy, a scarecrow or something, and send a dog to bite that. But it's to, oh man, it's to do so much. But the reality is a good decoy. And let's talk good training decoy because there are different decoys that are good at doing different things. This could be a whole nother podcast too. Well, don't worry, I'll have some dog people on. We're going to talk canines. It's one of the things I've done the longest in my life. So we'll talk canines. But this aspect, apprehension, bite work, when you're doing this, not only are you trying to elicit a certain mood from the dog, but you're reading the dog. You're reading the mood and personality, the energy that the dog is bringing to said apprehension every single time. I don't care if you're in a dark room and you can't see the dog and the dog is attached to your body, or you just hear the dog coming in looking for you. You can read a dog, whether it's steady and focused or frantic and hectic, even in its search, even in its breathing, even in its pattern of moving, without looking at the dog at all. Now, when you look at the dog, there's even more information that you can bring in and read and understand about the mood the dog is in. But as a decoy, as a training decoy, your job is to bring out what the perfect mood is for said dog. For said dog, because there's not one mood that fits all in terms of the best, right? Like some dogs work better, think better in a certain type of drive. I'm not going to go into the conversations right now about drive. We can do that in a whole nother podcast dedicated to canine. But The point in all of this is there's a science to it. There's a lot to it. And it's fun and it's exhilarating. And then after they bite you, you're also then working some more because you want to elicit a good bite, a better bite, and then a best bite from this particular dog that you're working. And so there's aspects of doing that that elicit the responses that you're looking for. So all of these things are happening. And I'm saying this because you, as a decoy, if you're a good training decoy, you have to be able to deal with this animal that's in your face, that's attached to your body with its teeth, and think and read and react and respond. And why am I saying all that about fear? Because this guy, me, Neo, until I was, man, when did I get these puppies? I had to be 20, 19, 20. I was petrified, petrified of dogs. I didn't care what breed, I didn't care what size. It could have been a Chihuahua. When I say petrified, let me give you guys some scenarios. First grade, first grade. So I'm 6 years old, six, seven, however old you are in first grade. And my neighbors had a poodle. His name was Tuffy. It was a little white miniature poodle. This dog is standing at their front door on their quarter-acre lot property, barking at me at the front door, y'all. He's not at the street. He's not where I am. He's at the front door. This dog caused me to scream and cry until my then granny came outside and walked me past said dog that had not moved off of the stairs. And I'm telling you, I was 6, and that would have been a very my feelings at 19 would feel the same, but my response physically would be a little bit different because I'm 19, right? I can't let everybody see me sweat. And a miniature poodle, I'll have to defend myself. But the fear aspect, the fight or flight that we talked about in the beginning of this episode for facts, was absolutely 100% real at 19. Now, some of you are asking, you were that scared of dogs at 19? How in the world did you end up training police? What? Okay. Wow. We're going there. Okay, so I'm not going to share names. I'm not going to share names. But I feel like I just have to keep that as a rule of thumb for everyone, with the exception of guest names and stuff like that. So I have this girlfriend, this Polish girlfriend, and I say that because it's just it's relevant to the story in terms of my time frame and thinking about my relationship with her. But it was also like the recognition and understanding that the cultural differences between the US and Poland, like me trying to explain how I could be my size and scared of tiny dogs or puppies, is like, it's unfathomable. It's like, no way, it's impossible. You, come on. So I say all that to say, when this then Polish girlfriend said, "Hey, I want a puppy," and at the time I lived off campus and had my own apartment, I was like, "Okay, cool. How am I gonna say no? My girlfriend wants a puppy. Okay, okay." These are some of the dumb things men do for women. Because I'm petrified of puppies. I'm petrified of dogs in general. I'm gonna get a puppy. Okay, cool. She wants a boxer puppy. I'm like, okay, boxers, I guess. They look cool. Like I can see myself walking a boxer and not looking like a punk. Um, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, but they're also, kind of mellow, so I can do a boxer. Y'all, she finds a breeder in New Smyrna Beach, Florida, because this is where I'm at, and Embry-Riddle. The breeder has 2 puppies left. Now listen to what I'm saying. Disclaimer: if there's anyone here, Get on my calendar, click the link in my bio if you choose to get a puppy or you'd like help thinking about planning through what to do or what not to do and going even in selecting the breed choice because people oh, there are right breeds for right people and wrong breeds for wrong people. So even breed selection is very important. But all of that said, we get to the breeder and the breeder's got two left. Never ever ever get a brother sister puppy. Never ever ever raise a brother sister puppy. Ever. Ever. I don't know this. I don't know anything about dogs. Cool. Let's get Nelly and Dog. Side note, we're gonna have a test on this. There's gonna be a podcast episode like 100. I'm gonna do trivia questions and giveaways, and the trivia question is gonna be on episode 3. I mentioned having two puppies, the first two puppies in my life. The first trivia question will be, my girlfriend was from what country? And then you'll have to be like, oh, she was Polish. And then the other trivia question will be, what were the puppies' names? I can see this happening already. Oh, maybe that'll be the episode we have Alicia Keys on, episode 100. No, probably not. At the rate that I'm going right now, this being episode 3, I feel like we're going to need more than 100 episodes. But in either case, Nelly and Dog. And Dog was literally as you hear it sound. Dog. Dog. Those are the names. Nelly and Dog. Dog. My neighbor, the same neighbor. Oh my goodness, these are great trivia questions for that episode 100. My neighbor, the one with the poodle, Tuffy, it was his dog's name, Dog, that I stole to name this other puppy. We get these two puppies. It is what it is. We get the two puppies. I come home one day after we broke up, and I'm caring for these puppies. To make this long story short, and the puppy ate a hole through my apartment wall. I mean, like a clear hole to the point where I could see the adjacent apartment connected to my apartment because puppies should never be put in crates. And so I had a galley kitchen and I had a big piece of plywood on one side of the galley kitchen where you could enter and leave so that they couldn't go anywhere. And then the kitchen's linoleum. So, if they peed or pooped or whatever, I could just clean it up. Perfect. Until it wasn't. When they decided they give up trying to eat through the plywood and they ate through the sheetrock. Now I'm sitting here as a teenager, a kid, with a hole in his apartment. Luckily, my dad's in construction. So, what did I do? Got some spackle, got some sheetrock, and repaired the hole. Painted the hole, and then textured the wall. Yes, Dad, you should be proud of me. You never even knew I did that. All right, so now, when this happened, I'm pissed, okay? Like, freaking pissed. So I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not with the girl. I'm not with my girlfriend anymore. So I've got to figure out what to do with these puppies. Like, I got to train them or something. So I throw them in the car, pissed. And I go up to the local pet store. I think it was a PetSmart at the time. And I get approached by this dude who looks at me. He looks like an asshole. He looks at me. He's got these dark sunglasses on, tack pants. He looks like I look now. And he questions me about why I have these two crazy puppies bouncing up and down in this cart and why I look so angry. And I'm like, look, dude, unless you're gonna help me train these puppies. And so I tell him, I'm like, yo, this is what happened, blah, 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 blah. And he starts laughing at me. And I'm like, you are an asshole. Long story short, he turns out to be a sheriff's deputy. He invites me out to train ridiculously early in the morning on a Saturday and says, come out here, gives me an address. He said, call ahead of time. He said, but if you come out here on a Saturday morning, I'll show you what to do with these puppies that had a ton of drive. And I was like, are you serious? He's like, yeah. He's like, we meet to train Saturdays, blah, blah, blah. He has a canine, German Shepherd. So I was like, okay, cool. Now, at the time, I'm working in a nightclub. I'm a bouncer. I was a bouncer pretty much all through college. Really amazing stories about those times, by the way. Just reflect back on the pictures I was talking about, the spring break and Girls Gone Wild. We will absolutely talk about some of the nightclubs and security and things I've done throughout my life and some of the crazy experiences. But I digress for this moment right now. I'm working at a nightclub Friday night. Obviously, I have work, which is Saturday morning, and I'm talking butt crack of dawn. So my thought process when he gave me all this stuff is like, there's no way in the world that this is gonna happen. Like I'm not gonna make it at this time. It's a god awful hour. So no, it's not happening. This Friday night, man, if you've ever worked security or if you've even just been a fighter, um, once your adrenaline drops a bunch of times, once that pumps through your system a few times, it is tough to go to sleep. So this particular night was like wall to wall fights all night long. I loved it. It was a great night. Those are the nights that go by super fast. You have a good time and you're pumped, but it's like impossible to go to sleep. So when I get home off of work, I can't go to sleep. I'm looking at these puppies. They're whining. I can't go to sleep. They can't go to sleep. So where do we go? We go to meet this guy for training because I'm up and I got hooked. When I first got to this field, they were running hot boxes. For those that you don't know what hot boxes are, excuse me. Um, you you have a guy in a box. It's a small box, but big enough for a human to go in. And you're running the dog for scents. And so the dog is running to each of these boxes for scent, trying to find the human. So this is like the tracking phase, but detection too, because it's tracking because depending on where you're at, and if you're, this is usually outside, um, an outside thing, the dog's going to pick up air and stuff like that, depending. And so it's kind of a combination, and it's also a larger space than say detection in a room or enclosed area that's small. All of that said, dog alerts on the box, and then you have certain responses that you can go. Most often when you get to the point where you're doing bite work for apprehension, you're gonna pop the door open and give the dog a bite on a sleeve or a suit, depending on how the scenario is set. So I've never seen any of this, right? This is the scared guy. I'm scared of the puppies that I have, right? And they're my puppies. And so I see this and I'm like, what the fuck? I'm just like blown away, like holy shit. And I'm watching all these guys run their dogs. And the dogs are like amped, excited. I'm listening to them bark. But most importantly, I'm looking at this guy get bit and get bit again 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 and get bit again. And I'm like, okay, so it must not hurt. Like it must not hurt. Like, so I'm at him like, does this hurt? Does it hurt when they get bit? And he's like, oh, you want to find out? And I'm like, fuck no, are you kidding me? Third training session. I'm dying to get bit. Please, 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 please. I want experiences. I want experiences. I want experiences. I finally get bit. I'm hooked. I am absolutely unequivocally hooked. Um, it was the scariest, most exhilarating, and most free moment in my life. In that moment, when that dog bit my arm in a bite sleeve, I felt like I had just accomplished every fear I had ever had in my entire life. And I was like 20 feet tall. I felt amazing. And it hurt like hell. Um, I remember thinking, how the fuck can this dog compress a sleeve? Like, so it wasn't a bite suit, it was like a sleeve. And the materials and conditions of biting and textures and everything are really different. But it is absolutely possible to experience pain and do bite work. And I mean, oh my goodness, it's painful. Depending on what you're wearing, it is 100% painful. But that doesn't change the fact that you still do it. Um, I have had numerous dogs bite through suits. And I mean, I have scars all over my body from dogs going through suits, causing me to bleed. And I remember, oh my goodness, I remember this one Belgian Malinois that he had been off the plane for maybe 3 hours. This guy just imported the dog from Belgium. He was an NVBK dog, and I'm in Texas. And he shows up with this dog, and I'm in Kaufman, Texas, working dogs. Let me just tell you, working dogs in a full bite suit in Texas in the flippin' summer is literally hell on earth. Ay Dios Santa Maria. It's horrible, okay? And I'm in a thermal because if you try to wear a short sleeve shirt, a tank top, or whatever, and you're dark skinned like myself, you're attracting all of the heat. So it makes it even hotter. So I'd wear a thermal, cotton thermal, because it would let me breathe. It would allow me to still slip in and out of my jacket if I had dogs that I was teaching and slipping the jacket to. All these different things. I'm wearing a thermal and I'm dying. But I'm also soaking wet. So when you're wet, it's sweat in your mind. It's always sweat until it's not. And so this particular dog, I will never forget. Dude, this dog bit my leg. And I remember thinking to myself, holy fuck, I have never felt pressure like this before. It was, and I mean, listen, I'd done bite work on Rottweilers, German Shepherds, Presa Canarios, Tiny Corsos. I mean, big ass dogs. It didn't fucking matter. I mean, this is a big Malinois. It didn't matter. I had never experienced bite pressure from any of those breeds like this particular dog. Now I know there's videos and everything all over the internet about, which breed has the highest bite pressure. And whatever they tell you, I think with Rottweilers one, it's bullshit. It's all bullshit. You know why it's bullshit? Because it's not the race that bites. It's not the race of the breed, of the dog that determines the bite pressure. It's the dog. So like you can have a Rottweiler that has a lower bite pressure than a Doberman, or lower bite pressure than a German Shepherd, or lower bite pressure than a Malinois. You can also have a Malinois, like this fucking Malinois, have higher bite pressure than the others. And so it's not breed dependent. Okay. All right. That said, now that we've cleared that up and I've provided you another fact for the night, when the dog bit me and I'm feeling this bite pressure, I'm working the dog, I'm feeling the pain, I'm loving it. It's all good. And is it? I worked the dog. I worked the dog. I probably did like 3 or 4 sessions with the dog. Dog was a leg dog. Guy was using the dog for mondio ring. Younger dog. I want to say this dog was like 16 months, 18 months at the time. Incredible, incredible dog. I take my bite pants off at the end of this. My entire leg is maroon, because I have been soaking and dripping blood for hours. So that scar is gnarly. Whatever. I clean up, I get going. But my point in saying all of that is this was a fear for me. And geez, I love how like my brain unlocks another nugget to share. The fear of dogs for me, prior to these moments and prior to me now training dogs to bite me as aggressively and as harshly as possible, as violently as possible, with the clearest head and intent to do harm. Literally, this is the mood I want for my dogs when they're biting. Was because I was ignorant. 100% ignorant. I was scared of dogs because I didn't understand them. Right? Like I didn't know why they barked. I didn't know why they would move frantically. I didn't know why they would seem so sporadic. I didn't know why they would be laying down for hours and then all of a sudden randomly want to cause me terror. When I finally get into a room and I feel comfortable and settled because the dog hasn't moved. And as soon as I let my fucking guard down, this damn dog wants to get up and go look for a ball or something. I was terrified as a child. Man, I remember running from a Rottweiler, which is my favorite breed, by the way. This Rottweiler, when I saw it, I thought it was like the dog from Sandlot. Okay, what's his name? Zeus. Zeus. Old Zeus got out the fence again. That's what James Earl Jones said in Sandlot. Love that movie. You're killing me, Smalls. Um, this Rottweiler. Shout out to Anthony. I'm not gonna throw last names, but if he listens to this podcast, he'll know. Man, this dog had this guy had a Rottweiler. It's a puppy. I didn't know it was a puppy. All I said, he was like, "Do you want to meet him?" He opens up his fence, and this dog comes running at me at what I felt like was 100 miles an hour. And I'm like, I don't know, 14. I'm on my bike, okay, people? Bicycle, obviously. This dog and me, I'm so scared. I'm so filled with fear. I drop my bike, which is obviously a faster form of transportation, and I run. Now this puppy, it's a puppy. It's 6 months old. I run 4 blocks, easy 4 blocks. Okay, and I'm talking like Billy the Jet Turner. Okay, I'm out. Is it Billy the Jet Smith? Dang it, I can't remember now. I know it's the Jet, and I know it's Billy. Somebody let me know. Comment what his name is in Sandlot. But I'm out. Okay, I'm gone, and I'm running for blocks. I ran so hard, my legs felt like I had done squats, like the heaviest squats, my 1 rep max for 20 reps, and they felt that way for a week. I'm not even joking. All of the blood left my heart and went straight to my legs so I could fly. And I flew. Okay. It was, oh my goodness. It was crazy. The dog I think stopped running like 3 houses down because again, it's a puppy. It wasn't wasn't it wasn't trying to do anything but be a puppy. But I was ignorant. I didn't know anything about it. I couldn't understand it at all. I never tried to understand it because I was so paralyzed in fear. And so why am I saying all that now? Because the reality is, most often our fear comes from an ignorance in every aspect. And I don't care if we're talking shit, someone pulls a gun on you and you're terrified. But why? When something like that happens, people think, I was scared because I thought I was going to lose my life. No, that's not why you're scared. As you process it after the event, yeah, like, oh my God, I was scared because I thought I was going to lose my life. I feared for my life. But that's not what drove the fear. The thing that drove the fear was you didn't know what was about to happen next. And the possibility of you losing your life was real. But the losing your life thing wasn't the fear. Why do I say that? Because people that die in car accidents, they don't fear for their life before impact. They died instantly. They had the impact that killed them. Right? There wasn't like this long period of time that they were processing this. Accidents happen in split seconds, and in those seconds, they die. Okay, so some of you are like, oh, this is very subjective. This is why I give the facts at the beginning, okay? All right, so now you think about the person that's, I don't know, hostage situation. The fear that you have is, yes, there's the possibility of death, but if I told you, hey, you're not going to die, you're not going to sit there and be scared. You'd be like, okay, cool. Just, let me know when this is done. No fear. The fear is the lack of the outcome. You don't know what it's going to be, which is an ignorance. People use the word ignorance and they get like, oh my goodness, ignorance is so bad. No, it's the reality. It's ignorant. You just don't know the outcome of something. And so you're ignorant to it. So in business, full circle, when I'm working with a client that has fear about changing the business, starting a new business, closing a business, I do the same things I would do for myself, which is why don't you remove the ignorance? Because if you remove the ignorance, now you're not going to make the decision based on fear because now you know. And if you know, even if you know more, because you're never going to know everything, no one knows the future, you can reduce your fear and meet it where your courage level is a little bit higher and then make the decision that's best for you. So let me say that again. I'm just going to like rewind. When you reduce your ignorance, meaning when you find out, when you investigate, when you respond to the questions about the said results of what is possible, and you reduce your ignorance to such a level that your courage meets that level of ignorance and exceeds it, you will then make a decision that is best for you, free from fear, free from debilitating fear, where courage allows you to move forward. And so now, courage. I introduced another word into this whole equation of peace and fear. Well, there's courage because you can't have courage without fear. Courage is literally taking action in the presence of fear and continuing to make a decision. I will never pretend to know what it's like to have served in the military or being at war. I have plenty of veteran friends, huge amount of respect for veteran friends. But I have kicked in plenty of doors and been in very fearful situations. And in those very fearful situations with guns and bullets and things involved, People have actions and choices to make. And people that have never been in those situations before respond differently than people that have and know how they will respond. What do I mean by that? I mean, you don't know what the fuck you're gonna do when the shit hits the fan, and you don't know what the fuck the person to your left or right is gonna do until shit hits the fan, and then you see how they react. Now, you can count on that the second time, the third time, or the fourth time, but if no one's ever been in it, you don't know what the fuck they're gonna do when it happens. It's like what Mike Tyson, what does he say? Everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face. Like, for real. There's all the training in the world. I don't give a fuck. All the training in the world. But if when shit gets scary, your person is not thinking clearly and not able to use said training to get them through said situation, don't rely on them because you'll be fucked. And that's just real. So, all of that said, you should always be looking to reduce your ignorance. It's one of the reasons why when I was a kid, I'd open up electric equipment. I don't give a fuck what it was, radios, computers, floppy drive discs. Like, if it was electronic, I'd want to open it. I didn't do it to TVs because I wasn't like suicidal. I didn't want my parents to kill me. But I'd open it because I wanted to learn how it worked. It was the first way I started learning like the paper cones in speakers and how the paper cones and the vibrations from the sounds and the signals created sound and music that we listened to through radios. That doesn't really mean anything as a kid that took apart a radio. But later, when I competed in sound off competitions in my Nissan Maxima and was trying to increase the decibels formed in building a box with the cones and subwoofers, yeah, it meant a whole lot. And that was from eight. I didn't know anything about cars and stereos, none of that stuff then. But those things connect, those dots connect. And so my point is this: we all have fear. It's natural to have it. It's the reason why we stay in relationships way too long because we're scared of what am I going to do without this person? What is life going to be when I have to get to this next stage? We stay in jobs for way too long because they pay me really good. What if I can't find a job that pays me this well? What if I can't find a job that gives me these benefits or these vacations or has this flexibility with what I need to do with the kids and their schooling and the PTA and or the fact that I can work from home or what's going to happen if I tell my wife that I don't enjoy sex with her? I don't enjoy sex with him. You know, I can't say that. I can't quit my job just because I'm not happy here. I don't have money to feed my kids tomorrow if I stop work. What if, what if, what if, what if, what if? We live in this space. So I want to give you the opportunity right now to be Neo. Whatever the thing is that you're worried about not doing, I want you to do it. Tell your wife that you want a divorce. Tell your husband that you want a divorce. I didn't tell you go get the paperwork. I said tell them. Why? Because you can't have the conversation until you tell them. If sex sucks, tell them. I want you to open your mouth and I want you to tell them. Maybe you write it to them. Maybe you don't send them a fucking text message. If this is like, don't do that. But tell that person the thing that you need to tell them. Excuse me, I'm lying. Send the text message. Because it's better that you communicate it in some way, shape, or form than not communicating it at all. And maybe your courage and the ignorance threshold is only at the level of you being able to send a text, which is still better than not taking an action. So send a text message, but do the thing. Do the thing. And the only thing that can constitute doing the thing is absolutely doing the thing. Write them, talk to them, have the conversation. If you're depressed, say it. Tell somebody. If you've been thinking about taking your life, tell somebody. If you're in a shitty fucking mood, tell somebody. I started and I opened this up with the aspect of my love for my friend and learning love in friends differently. And I'm telling you, like, never in my life have I known friendships the way I have learned them the last few years. I mean that. And it's been amazing. But that said, yo, your friends and the people that are there, you've got to communicate. And when you communicate those things, you can then have the conversations. And at the very least, understand who you can communicate with and who you can't. Because how those people respond, what they say, how they respond and react to what it is that you shared will allow you to know where they are in the position that they have in your life, which will also allow you to know how to move forward in peace. All right, guys. So I don't want to make these episodes so long. I have so much more I want to say about it, but conquer your fear, find your courage, and reduce your ignorance. And I don't care if you have a phobia. I don't care if you're just scared. If you have a phobia, I would say talk about it in therapy, because remember, I am a huge advocate of therapy. Like seriously, therapy, therapy, therapy. It's important. Your mental health is vital. And I don't care how many children you have and the best parent award that you'd like to win. If you do not take care of yourself first, and that includes your mental health, it is impossible for you to be a valuable asset and a positive aspect and to do and have and create the life for your children or those around you that you want if you are not taking care of yourself. So please talk to someone. I don't care who it is, but talk to someone. All right, guys, I am out. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this episode. And guys, please, please go to the freeyourmind.store website, buy a shirt, a mug, or a hoodie. Rep your peace and let others, give others the freedom to do the same by them viewing you rep yours. And share, 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 share. Sharing is caring. But I'm seriously, I can't get to 1,000. I can't get to 1,000,000 without you sharing. So please share. And I don't care with who you share it with. Share it with somebody. Like, comment, subscribe, click the bell, notifications, all of those great things too. And stay tuned for episode 4. I promise you that one will be coming sooner than you know it. But for now, peace.